Imagine walking into a car dealership. And here's the shocking part. It doesn't need fuel. It doesn't need charging. And yet, it runs endlessly. Sounds impossible, right? Well, Africa's own Maxwell Chikumbutso has just flipped the global EV industry on its head. Because a self-powered EV is now officially up for sale. The big shock. For years, Maxwell's name has been whispered in tech circles. Some called him a genius. Others dismissed him as a myth. He introduced the world to a car powered by microwave energy, a mysterious system that converts invisible waves into endless motion. But until now, it was locked away in labs, shown only in rare demonstrations. That all changed when reports surfaced of a limited release. Maxwell's EV being offered to the public in select African and Asian markets at the jaw-dropping price of just $14,000. The news spread like wildfire. Videos leaked online of people test-driving the car, showing dashboards that never dropped in battery percentage. A farmer in Zimbabwe was seen hauling produce for days without once plugging in. In Kenya, a taxi driver claimed he'd been driving passengers for weeks without fuel costs or downtime. International media scrambled for confirmation, while tech giants and automakers grew restless. Could it really be true? Had an African engineer beaten Tesla, Toyota, and Volkswagen in the EV race? Here's what makes this story even wilder. The car isn't just self-powered, it's affordable. With a price tag of around $14,000. Analysts say this isn't just a new product, it's an economic earthquake. Imagine countries across Africa and Asia, where car ownership has always been limited by high costs, suddenly gaining access to vehicles that never need fuel, never need charging. Elon Musk's dilemma. Insiders suggest Tesla engineers were instructed to evaluate and replicate the mysterious microwave system. But here's the twist. No one outside Maxwell's team has been able to crack the tech. One leaked report from a Chinese auto lab admitted, "We don't fully understand the energy system. It breaks the conventional rules of physics as we know them." The first buyers. Small fleets of these cars have appeared in Zambia, Nigeria, and even pilot programs in China. Videos show customers proudly taking delivery of cars that the global market once thought didn't exist. The reactions range from joy to disbelief. One man, holding the keys to his new car, simply said, "This is freedom. I'll never pay for fuel again." But with every revolution comes resistance. Almost immediately, governments tied to oil exports began raising red flags. They called for immediate bans until further tests were conducted. Energy companies, facing the threat of billions in lost revenue, quietly pushed officials to suppress imports of Maxwell's EV. In one case, an entire shipment of cars bound for West Africa was mysteriously held at customs, with no explanation. But insiders leaked that emergency board meetings were being held in Detroit, Tokyo, and Stuttgart. Because Maxwell's $14,000 EV wasn't just innovation, it was a market killer. Tesla, GM, Toyota, and VW had all bet their futures on expensive EVs that require massive charging infrastructures. If Maxwell's tech truly worked, billions of dollars in R&D could become obsolete overnight. Reports suggested that China had quietly secured an exclusive deal to manufacture parts of Maxwell's self-power system. Factories in Shenzhen and Guangzhou were rumored to be producing components for thousands of vehicles per month, preparing for a rollout far beyond Africa. Analysts warned that if Africa and China joined forces on mass-producing this EV, the global car industry would never look the same. The public speaks on social media. But one thing nobody could deny: people were driving these cars, and they weren't stopping. Reports surfaced that Maxwell's team was receiving threats, urging him to shut down production. Whispers in the industry suggested oil magnates and certain political groups were pressuring African governments to block distribution, telling a Zimbabwean reporter, "This technology is not mine alone. It belongs to the world." By early reports, Africa and China had already begun laying the groundwork for mass distribution. Factories expanded. But the rollout wasn't just about cars, it was about geopolitical power. Whoever controlled this technology wouldn't just dominate the car market, they would redefine global energy dependence. Elon Musk responds, "If what they claim is true, it changes everything. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof." To many, it was a veiled admission that Maxwell's technology was real enough to take seriously. Tesla's stock wavered, and investors demanded answers on how the company planned to respond. Behind the scenes, Tesla engineers reportedly began reverse engineering leaked schematics, trying to understand the microic energy source. The US and Europe weren't going to sit back. Officials argued it was about safety standards, but critics called it a thinly veiled attempt to stall Maxwell's cars from reaching Western streets. Yet, the harder governments pushed back, the more people demanded answers. Why block a car that could save families thousands on fuel? Why hide technology that could help fight climate change? For decades, the continent had been viewed only as a resource supplier to the world, never as a tech powerhouse. In a fiery speech, one African minister declared, "We will not allow history to repeat itself. Africa will not be robbed of its inventions again. This car is ours, and the world will come to us if it wants it." Crowds erupted in cheers. For the first time, Africa wasn't begging for a seat at the table. It was setting the table. As the first wave of Maxwell's $14,000 EVs prepared for international launch, the world watched nervously. Would Western governments find a way to ban it entirely? Or would this car break through the barriers and shift global power forever? The first shipment of Maxwell's EVs left the port of Mombasa under heavy security. Trucks loaded with the sleek vehicles rolled into massive cargo ships bound for China, India, and parts of South America. Cameras captured every moment. The sight of hundreds of cars being loaded onto ships, powered by a mysterious microic energy engine instead of lithium batteries or fuel tanks, sent the world media into a frenzy. China State News declared, "A new era has begun, and Africa is leading it." On the third night of the journey, one of the cargo ships mysteriously lost all communications. For hours, its signal vanished from radar. When it reappeared the next morning, containers had been broken into. Crew members reported seeing unmarked drones hovering in the sky just before the incident. It looked like someone, somewhere, was trying to stop Maxwell's cars from reaching global markets. In response, China deployed naval escorts for future shipments. Africa doubled down on protective measures, even hiring private security firms to guard Maxwell facilities. A joint press statement announced, "This is not just about cars. This is about independence from energy monopolies. Those who attempt to sabotage will fail. The future cannot be stopped." The message was clear. They were not backing down. Western media, however, spun the story differently. Headlines screamed, "Unproven African EV faces safety concerns." China using African car to challenge Western auto dominance. Ordinary people began asking, if the car is fake, why are governments so desperate to block it? The harder the opposition fought, the more the public sided with Maxwell. Back at Tesla HQ, engineers worked day and night. Whispers spread that Musk had ordered a top-secret internal project to crack the microic technology. But one leaked memo revealed a shocking detail. Tesla scientists admitted they couldn't fully understand the self-recharging system Maxwell had created. For the first time in a decade, Tesla was on the defensive. Weeks later, the first official customers in China and Africa drove Maxwell's EVs onto the streets. A man drove 1,000 kilometers without ever plugging in. A taxi driver in Nairobi bragged about saving hundreds of dollars in just 1 week. A Chinese vlogger dismantled the hood, revealing an engine that hummed silently with microic pulses. The moment Maxwell's self-powered EV hit the roads, oil prices dipped overnight. Stock values of the largest petroleum companies lost billions within hours. In a closed-door emergency meeting, oil executives from Europe, the Middle East, and America gathered. Documents later leaked revealed a chilling phrase on the agenda: contain or eliminate the threat. It was one man in Africa, Maxwell Chikumbutso. In a broadcast streamed globally, he said, "I built this car not for corporations, but for humanity. No one should ever have to choose between mobility and survival." By the end of the year, tens of thousands of Maxwell's cars were already on the streets. Chinese cities saw cleaner air as fleets of self-powered taxis replaced fuel-burning cars. Even in Europe, black market imports of Maxwell's EVs started popping up despite bans. The old system was crumbling. At a Tesla press event, Elon Musk was asked about Maxwell's cars. The future of transport would never be the same again. It was the first time Musk had openly conceded defeat. From Africa to Asia, from villages to megacities, the hum of self-powered cars filled the streets. Maxwell Chikumbutso, once dismissed as a dreamer, had redefined the future.